Hi, it's Nick on the 23rd of August. Hope all is good with you. Episode 3 of this week's theme about self-love and lovability. And as I shared in earlier videos, my own personal journey has been about being pretty punitive on myself, pretty tough on myself, and thinking that somehow that was, in a strange kind of way, being kind to myself. Like somehow that was doing me some good, being judgmental of myself. Somehow, I don't know, some belief about that leading me to a better place, that I would somehow correct myself if I was tough enough on myself. And really the last, I suppose the last couple of decades of my life have been very much wanting to shift from self-judgment and self-toughness to self-compassion and self-love. For example, I don't know how you are when you make mistakes, but when I was younger, when I made mistakes, I would crucify myself for the mistakes that I made. I'd be so tough on myself. But I suppose there was a good intention there, which was, not to make mistakes, to raise my bar. And now I realise that, how I raise my bar and how I get to do better work is through a lot more self-compassion, not self-berating. I know it sounds kind of obvious, but I was so caught in it when I was younger that I didn't realise what I was doing to some extent, or I didn't know how to get out of it. And I think I was so tough on myself that I didn't realise how tough other people were being on themselves. I was so caught up in my own, self-judgment. I couldn't see how tough everyone else was being. Well, hi Mary, I see you've joined live. Hi Mary, lovely to have you here. So yeah, part of self-love is learning self-compassion. It's about being kind to ourselves when we make mistakes, when we are judgmental of ourselves and others, when we're nasty or even cruel, I guess. I know at my worst I can be cruel to myself at least, and probably at times, cruel to other people in the moment, obviously not consistently. But I came across a poem a couple of years ago, so I thought I'd share it with you today, and I'll post it underneath this video so that you can have direct access to it as well. It's by a guy called Miller Williams, who I assume is no relative. I don't know him to be a relative. I presume it's a man, Miller Williams. And it's a very short poem. It's only 7 lines, but I love it. And to me it's just a wonderful example of our need for self-compassion, or it's like a rallying call for compassion for ourselves and each other. So here it is. It's called Compassion. Have compassion for everyone you meet, even if they don't want it. What seems conceit, bad manners or cynicism is always a sign of things no ears have heard, no eyes have seen. You do not know what wars are going on down there where the spirit meets the bone. I love those last 2 lines. You do not know what wars are going on down there where the spirit meets the bone. And it's so easy to judge. It's so easy to judge ourselves and each other. We live in a world that is based on judgment and condemnation. And my belief is what's called for is so much more compassion for ourselves and each other. That we can easily judge people's behaviour, but what we often don't recognise is the pain, the hurt, the what's behind the behaviour. And again, this isn't to condone behaviour, but I know my worst behaviour is fueled by how bad I feel about myself. And if I had much more compassion for myself, then I would treat myself better, and I would treat other people better too. So really today is a rallying call for compassion for ourselves, and all compassion starts with ourselves. I've been pretty good at being compassionate to others. My big journey is still being compassionate to myself. So thank you, Mary. Thank you. Powerful poem. Yes, it is. I love it. So I'll post it in a minute when I've finished this video. I'll post it underneath, and you can see it. So thank you for joining live, Mary, and yeah, see you again tomorrow. Bye bye.